everybody, welcome back. So today I'm going to go over all the books that I plan to read in the month of June. So every month I listen to 3 audiobooks. 2 I just listen to on my own and then 1 with my kids. So the 2 that I'm listening to, the first one is The Sin Eater by Maggie Campisi. And this is a historical fiction. It follows a 14-year-old girl who's sentenced to be the Sin Eater for the area, which means people have to come and confess to her before they die all their sins, and then she ritualistically eats some fruit or something to indicate that she has eaten their sin, and they can now die without sin. But she has to carry those sins with her for all of her days, and this kind of ostracizes her from her community. It kind of looked interesting. Thought I would see what that was all about. The next audiobook that I plan to listen to is Carve the Mark by Veronica Roth. And this is the first book in the Carve the Mark series. There's 2 books in the series right now. I don't know if there's a 3rd one coming out. Veronica Roth wrote the Divergent series, and I guess this one is also... So this is a science fiction, I think it's a young adult series, and it follows a pair of siblings who are kidnapped, and they are forced to kind of enter this war that's been going on over these 2 rivals who are trying to control the planet. And the one girl, Sarah, apparently has this ability to make people suffer and have pain just by touching them, so they want to use her as a weapon in their war. So I'm excited to see what happens there. The 3rd book that I'll be listening to, and this is the one I'll listen to with my kids, is called Neverseen by Shannon Messenger. And this is the 3rd book in The Keepers of the Lost City. And we follow Sophie, who is an elf. And this one I think is them coming closer to uncovering the secrets behind the Black Swan and the Neverseen, which are the rogue band of elves that are trying to either destroy the world or save the world. And that's kind of the world of humans that they're trying to save or destroy. Okay, so those are the audiobooks that I plan to listen to this month. Then I read 4 physical books every month. And so this month I'll be reading The Raven King by Maggie Stiefavater. And this is the 4th book in the Raven cycle. And this follows a girl named Blue and the Raven Boys. Each one seems to get a little bit more magical than the other one. It's a YA urban fantasy, I guess you could say. They're trying to find this tomb of like an Irish or a Welsh king that's, of course, buried in Virginia, because where else would they be buried? But if you find this king, then he's supposed to grant you a wish. So for the past 3 books, they've been trying to find him and uncovering that they all have these different abilities and powers that hopefully is going to help them along their way. I'm excited to see how this one ends. I haven't heard whether the ending is good or not from anyone else, so I'm just going to find out for myself. The next book that I plan to pick up is Shadowplay by Tad Williams. This is the 2nd book in the Shadow March series. This follows a pair of twins, Barrick and Brianni, and they have been left in charge of their kingdom when their brother's killed, their father's imprisoned, and they're left to take care of their kingdom. Turns out that there are people working to overthrow them, and beyond that, they also have the Quar to deal with, which are a race of Fae who have lost the war with the humans long ago and have now decided to come back and reclaim their lands. The first book I really enjoyed. Tad Williams has some really beautiful prose, and if you like nice prose, then I suggest that you pick up Tad Williams, not just this one, but any of his other books, the Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn series as well. So I'm excited to see what happens next. The next physical book that I plan to pick up is The Cider House Rules by John Irving. This is a historical fiction, takes place in the 1920s. There's an orphanage, and the runner of the orphanage raises this boy who, for whatever reason, he hasn't ever been able to get him adopted, so he decides he's going to train him to be the doctor and take over his position when he dies. And the boy has, I guess, other aspirations for his life. And so it follows, I think those are the 2 main characters, and the doctor trying to push the boy to take over his position, and the boy trying to make his own way and trying to figure out what he wants out of life. And the last one that I'm going to pick up is Assassin's Quest by Robin Hobb. This is the 3rd book in the Farseer trilogy. We follow Fitz, and he is the bastard son of the Prince Chivalry, who was supposed to be king, but was rather embarrassed when he learned of his son and decided he didn't want to be king, and then ended up dying, so that his brother is now next in line to be king. They don't know quite what to do with Fitz, so they make him the assassin to the king. He is the assassin to the royal family. And it's not so much as a story about an assassin killing people, and although he does do that, but they put him in all these like kind of political situations, and he has to find a way to negotiate in those situations. And the last one ended rather kind of shockingly, so I'm really excited to pick it up and see what happens next. And then I also am going to pick up 4 books from my Kindle. And these are going to be the ones that I'm going to read from a Kindle. First one is The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas. And this is by the same guy that wrote The Three Musketeers. And so it's like a French classic. And this follows a man who is falsely imprisoned by one of his friends and ends up escaping from prison and seeking revenge. So it's completely a revenge story. So I've seen some of the movies, so I'll be excited to actually read the book and see what it's all about. The second one that I'm going to pick up is The 100,000 Kingdoms by N.K. Jemisin. I have not read anything by her yet, but I hear that she's a pretty good fantasy writer. And this is the first book in the inheritance cycle. And this follows a girl, Yuri, who I guess her mother dies, and then she is taken to this city in the sky to let her know that she has an inheritance from her mom. So don't know much other about it than that, so I'm excited to see what it's about. Third one I'll be picking up is The Secret History by Donna Tartt, and this is a dark academia book. I don't know what college it takes place at, I'm sure I'll find out when I read it, but there's some kids at this college that kind of find a new way to think and believe, and I guess that changes the course of their entire lives, which I know is completely unheard of when you go to college. And the fourth one that I plan to pick up is called The Promise of Blood by Brian McClellan, and this is the first book in the Powder Mage trilogy. This is a fantasy series with guns, and I believe it's a military campaign, so it's kind of a militaristic fantasy, and it involves, I guess, a group of people who are trying to overthrow the king. But I don't know a whole lot more than that, but I'm excited to read it and see what that's all about. Those are all the books that I plan to read in June. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. I put out new videos on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Thanks for watching.